show. I have Jamie, my co-host, with me here today. Jamie, how you doing?
Doing all right. Just ready for some football week 2.
Oh yeah, how you feel? Are you feeling good as a Browns fan right now?
Oh, I'm loving it, man. I
Yeah,
know Jason. I listen to your show. You don't agree, but I think the Browns are gonna crush the Steelers.
Doc's here in support as well. And then Jason, how are you doing? Welcome to
Doing
the show.
doing well. Thank you for having me.
Of
Excited to be
course.
here.
And if you want to plug your show real quick, please feel free to tell us where we can find your show, what it's called.
I do a fantasy football podcast called Only in Your Fantasies Football. You can find me on Facebook at Only in Your FF, or on Twitter, same handle, or TikTok, same handle.
Perfect. Thank you. No, we're glad to have you. And Doc, good to have you. And before we say anything else about Doc and ask how he's doing, go check out his book. Someone just got to plug it in the chat. I'll find it. Someone else can do it if they're quicker than me, but we got to.
Injuries suck, but your fantasy team doesn't have to.
Yep.
Using injury analysis to take your fantasy sports game to the next level. So there you go. And I'm really happy to be here with you guys. It's long-time watcher, first-time guest. But I love all the guys here at Going for 2, and I'm kind of bouncing around this year, going on different shows, and I was really honored to be asked to be on here. And as a demonstration of that, I'm wearing my Cleveland Browns Ernie Davis, the Elmira Express jersey, just for Jamie, so he's not the only Browns fan in the known universe.
Appreciate that.
We're up to 2. I never thought we'd see this. Now, with that in mind, before we dive into anything else, let's just kind of go over a few quick player updates before I dive into some of the headlines. So far, for players that are in, we have Travis Kelce, he's back. We have Chris Jones after the contract dispute, he'll be in there. Chase Claypool, that one's another one we'll dive into a little bit more because that's kind of under different terms. But he will be in this week. For questionables, we still have Amari Cooper is questionable, CJ Stroud, Mark Andrews, DeAndre Hopkins. No updates on any of those guys as of yet, but we will.
It looks like Stroud is okay to go.
Stroud is okay. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Oh yeah, we got DeAndre Hopkins active, Bosa active, Mark Andrews, Edwards-Helaire active, Andrew Jones, Christian Watson, David Bakhtiari. Oh well, I don't like reading all 3 of those in a row in the inactive. Oof. We also have Laramie Tunzel for anyone playing any Houston players. Nate Davis as well for the Bears offensive line. Austin Eckler is out. And Deontay Foreman, healthy scratch for Chicago. We will update you with any others as we get them out. And from there, I did want to touch on the Chase Claypool one real quick. Did any of you 3 gentlemen watch the Bears-Packer game last week? Wasn't too exciting, but
well, we didn't have as good a seats as you did, that's for sure.
I had a good time. I'll share a story with that in a second. But no, did you guys watch that game at all?
I saw the end of it. I saw Roshan's touchdown, so I was happy about that.
Of course he did. Of course he saw Roshan's touchdown.
I just got the highlights. Didn't get to see the full game though.
Did you see any of the Chase Claypool stuff though?
No.
There was a lot of lackluster effort on the field in multiple regards. And there were a lot of questions about if he should be on the field playing this week when it really didn't look like he cared to be there or on the field last week. But it looks like they're riding with him again this week, so we'll see. I mean, you would like to think that they could use the extra weapon and maybe they'll actually decide to have a script where Justin Fields throws the ball. Still confused about last week. I was at the Packers-Bears game, and very interesting to see the Bears acquire DJ Moore and then not use him at all. I wasn't upset about it as a Packer fan, but didn't really make a whole lot of sense.
How much from what you could see, do you feel like the defense might have been trying to take him away and leave, kind of beat me with Mooney and Claypool et al., as opposed to beat me with DJ Moore? Do you think that was part of it, or do you think he's still trying to get in the flow of the offense and things like that?
I think it was hard for me to have a lot of takeaways from that Packers-Bears game due to the fact that the Bears looked really bad and the Packers looked really good.
Yeah.
And the Packers have enough talent on defense where they should be that top 5 unit, but under Joe Barry at DC, they haven't had that ability, or they haven't shown it to the fullest extent. But last week actually looked like that. So I'm not sure if they're actually here to stay or not, and that's where it's tough to really gauge the Bears offense versus the Packers defense, and then vice versa. But With that in mind, we'll move on to another piece of news. Aaron Rodgers, not out of the question that he's going to return this year. What? Doc, let's just go right to you on that one because yeah, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. And also, sorry,
No,
for
go ahead.
those with the start sits, we will address those in 1 second. So
Yeah, so we could talk about that a little bit. I think there's a couple things at play here, but the short story is I'm with you too. Like it just doesn't add up. I know there have been advances in Achilles tendon repair surgeries, and we've seen relatively recently with Cam Akers that Achilles injuries used to be a career killer. It was like you injured your Achilles and you're done. And maybe you make it back and you can be a role player. Like, there are a couple of guys that managed to do that, but it's like previous to Cam Akers, like the biggest success story after Achilles injuries was Mikel LaSure, household name running back for the Detroit Lions. And then Cam Akers came along and he has found a modicum of success, certainly not reaching the level that he was previously. The difference is Cam Akers is 24 years old and, an elite athlete. Not to say that Aaron Rodgers isn't a great athlete, but he's pushing 40 and his time frame is really truncated. I think Cam Akers came back in 6 months, and in order for Aaron Rodgers to make the playoffs, he would have to make it back by December. So I was never great at math, but that's only about 3.5 or 4 months, and it just doesn't. And that's if everything goes perfectly. So I think what it is, bottom line is, if you're a Jets fan, if you're the Jets fan base, you can't be enamored with the fact that Zach Wilson is your quarterback again, to put it extremely mildly. So they need something to hang their hats on before they just completely all jump off this, burning bandwagon, right?
Hey, they got the Mormon Mahomes. Come on
right.
now. He's back.
So they got to give him something. So they're like, hey, you know what? If we can make the playoffs, then maybe Aaron Rodgers can come back. That at least gives you some kind of hope. And hope is a beautiful thing, like from the Shawshank Redemption. But I don't know. I don't know how it's all going to turn out, but I wouldn't be betting on it. I wouldn't I don't buy it.
I see a lot of irony in it though, because their whole issue was the offensive line. They clearly couldn't protect him. He gets hurt right away, and then there's talk about returning. It's not like that offensive line is going to be any better come into season. If anything, it might be worse because there might be an injury up front. And that's
the one saving grace, I will say, for him to potentially come back. I don't know about it in 4 months, but at some point. Because I know there's been a lot of talk about that, is if I'm not mistaken, it was his left Achilles that got hurt. I'm verifying that right now.
So it's not his leg he launches
So it's not his push-off leg for a right-handed quarterback.
Yeah.
So that's something. Torn left Achilles tendon. So that's his plant leg. That's not his push-off leg. So that there's less loading on the Achilles tendon. That's a silver lining on a dark cloud, but that's something. I don't think it's going to make a difference in this case, but that is something to kind of hang your hat on a little bit from making it back.
And on the subject of the Jets real quick, because, they suddenly expressed this belief in Zach Wilson that they quickly didn't have last year, and it was kind of funny to hear them express the support when these are the same guys that pretty much shunned him and booed him off the field. His own teammates, like Garrett Wilson, none of those guys were supportive last year. And they're like, oh, we believe in number 2. I'm like, oh, bullshit. Like that, you can say that right now, but then Mo Salah came out this morning and he said a team needs 3 elements to win on the road: a strong ground game, a tough defense, and sound special teams.
Okay.
I'm not hearing anything about a quarterback in there. I'm not hearing much belief in anything other than, hey, let's run the ball every time. And with that in mind, it sounds like Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall, those are guys you might want to be playing. And with that in mind, let's dive into those start sits. First off, we have Daniel from Facebook. He said, need help, guys. Pick a flex full PPR. Sutton, Mostert, Freiermuth, Rashid White, or Michael Thomas. Jason, let's go to you first. Any thoughts there?
I like Freiermuth.
You like Freiermuth?
All of those. Sutton, I don't know yet about Denver. I want to see more from Russell Wilson, see he's consistent as a better quarterback. We might get the stinker that he was last year still. Mostert, he's going up against a tough Patriots defense. Might not get a whole lot of boom plays out of him. And Rashad White, he's just trash to me. Michael Thomas, he could stub his toe, be out of the game in 2 minutes, out for the season. You know how he is. But Freiermuth, I like him. He looks like a good safety blanket for Kenny Pickett, and with Deontay Johnson being out, there might be more targets for him to be there.
Call me crazy. I kind of like Mike Thomas there. Jamie, what are your thoughts? Before
Yeah,
I
I was going
elaborate too
to
much.
say, if it's tight end premium, I might roll out Fryermuth. But the Browns defense, man, they're going to be all over Pickett. I would go Michael Thomas. I think I have him in my top 25, 30 right now. So I would rather play my top 30 receiver than my top 10 tight end.
Yeah, I feel that. Doc, what are your thoughts on this one?
I think they said it all. I kind of agree. If it's 10 and premium, I would consider Fryermuth. Otherwise, I like Michael Thomas and the resurgent Phoenix rising from the ashes that is Derek Carr and Nollins.
I believed. I acquired Derek Carr for cheap in a lot of dynasty leagues at the trade deadline last year, so I love seeing it. And I definitely think Mike Thomas is the move here. Yeah, if it's tight end premium, then I'd consider Fryermuth. But I am a little concerned with Pittsburgh's offense. You know, I was optimistic we'd see some progression from Kenny Pickett after what he showed towards the tail end of year one. Did not look good for our boy week one of this year, and Deontay Johnson being hurt as well does not help. Or, I mean, it benefits Fryermuth's opportunity, but I don't think it helps the offense as a whole. And when week one they didn't look that well, I'm a little nervous about any of my Pittsburgh plays this week. So I'd probably lean in favor of Mike Thomas while he's still healthy, like Jason alluded to, because who knows how long it'll last. But, hey, if you can get a start out of him, might as well enjoy it while it lasts. With that in mind, we also have Kenny Wood on YouTube. Pick one. Didn't specify a scoring, but so 2-2 Atwell. We got Rashid Shaheed, Romeo Dobbs, Drake London, Elijah Moore. Jamie, let's go to you first. What are you thinking on that one?
Well, I have London ranked the highest, but I don't think I could recommend someone to start him. I mean, he ran 90% of his routes. He only got one target. So, like, they only passed, 18 times last week? So I don't know if he's going to get the volume. Dubes look good. I know you were at the game.
I'll get into my thoughts on this one last, but yeah.
So,
any thoughts on the other guys there? Elijah Moore.
I like Elijah Moore, man. I think he's going to eat in the slot, but I don't know if Cooper's going to play or not. So I would I would go Dubes, man, just for the upside.
Jason, what about you? What are you thinking there?
I like Romeo because Christian Watt, he's out again this week, right?
Yep, he's out.
Going that way, yeah. He's out.
We saw what Dubs did last week, so it could surely happen again. Drake London broke my heart last week, so I'm going to bench him until further notice. He's in timeout on my teams.
Yeah.
The rest don't stand out to me too much right now, so I do like Dubs.
Doc, what are you thinking?
I'm actually going to go a little different here. Here's my concern with Dubs. Now, Zach, I want to get the pronunciation right because I know Romeo's watching. So,
Dubs.
As a Packers fan, how do you pronounce his last
Dubs.
name? There's a lot of controversy there.
Dubs.
Okay.
I've called him Dubs since he went to Nevada. I've had him in Debbie leagues for years.
Okay, so you're the man.
I'm very
you're the man
firmly in the Dubs one. Yeah,
all
that's
right, perfect.
Dubs, and I'm like.
So my concern is exactly what you guys said with Drake London. He broke my heart as well. I have him in a couple of leagues, and I wore that donut, and that was horrible. You can't start him until you see something from him, and you see something from this offense. Maybe it's this week, maybe it was a fluke, or maybe Atlanta just decides they want to roll it back to the 1950s and play smash mouth football. I don't know, but you can't start London. And my concern in that game with Green Bay versus Atlanta is they're just going to grind it down to a halt, and there's going to be no passing volume to go around for anybody because they're going to try to control the clock. They're going to try to Bijan and Algier and Cordero Patterson and pull guys out of the stands to run the ball, and nobody gets any passing volume. So out of all the guys that are listed there, jury's still out for me on Deshaun Watson if he's actually going to come back. I know we've all been expecting it for 2 years. We haven't really seen it yet. So until somebody knocks the rust off Tin Man, I don't know if he's actually going to produce ever. So I'm going to go with Rashid Shaheed. He's actually showed us that he can play. And if Michael Thomas doesn't come through, if Derek Carr continues to, enjoy the resurgence that he's shown so far, I think we've seen already that he can produce. And he's done it. He did it last year too. So that would be my guy.
So I had a perfect angle of both of Dub's touchdowns last week because they were both scored on my side of the end zone. So I was watching it, and damn, he looked good. I mean, that fade, that back shoulder fade, that second touchdown, that one looked like some Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams type stuff. I'm not going to say Jordan Love is Aaron, and I'm not going to say Dubs is Devontae either. I'm not trying to say that, but I was impressed with what I saw, and with Christian Watson out, with Aaron Jones out as well, who was utilized a lot in the passing game, but also on the ground last week. I really like him as a play here. I do think that there are some questions about Atlanta's defense, but I think Dubs is probably the safest bet there. A little curious in Drake London. If you still are optimistic and you don't want to bench him after 1 week, you don't want to overreact. I get that, but I'm really a lot more optimistic on what the upside would be of Dubs, because realistically, I think if Atlanta's winning that game, I think it's going to be on the ground, because Green Bay's kind of been notoriously known for a poor run defense. So I would expect Algier and Bijan to be the guys leading that way, and not Drake London. With that in mind, we got another one from Roger. That is Brian Robinson Jr. or Kyron Williams, full PPR. Doc, let's go to you first.
Oh man, this is a tough one. I guess the question is, do you believe in Antonio Gibson at all? Like, do you believe that he sucks and that he's in the doghouse again and he's not going to do anything? Because if you do, then I say you go Brian Robinson. If you don't, and if you don't believe in Cam Akers and you believe that he sucks and that he's in the doghouse and he's not going to do anything, then I guess you go Kyron Williams there. So like, I know I don't have a strong pull on this one. I feel like you can make a decision either way, but kind of look at your gut and say, who's the guy that you don't, like out of those two situations, if anyone. I still remain kind of I wouldn't say I'm a truther, but I still believe in Antonio Gibson. I think the fumble, hurt him, and that's kind of why he didn't show up.
Which fumble? Which
yeah,
time?
right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then he got benched, and rightfully so. But I still kind of am holding out belief that Bieniemy is going to try to work the 225-pound, monster into the offense. But we haven't seen it yet, so that's kind of my take on it.
And Jason, how about you? Thoughts there?
I'm just gonna go with the matchup. Williams is playing against the Niners, and the Niners look scary. So I'm going to go with Brian Robinson. I think he's a safer play. So, yeah.
And Jamie, how about yourself?
I will never tell anyone to start Kyron Williams. I don't like the guy. I know the Rams do for some reason, but he's just too small, too slow, too inefficient. He had 15 carries last week. He only would have got you like 5 fantasy points without those touchdowns. He's a satellite back that didn't catch any passes. And like Jason said, the matchup, that's brutal, man. I'm not starting Kyron Williams, so I'm going B-Rob.
Well, I'm just going to say it. Both Antonio Gibson and Cam Akers, they both suck.
That's fair.
I don't have any of them, or I don't have either in any leagues purposefully. And, this is definitely a 50-50 split. Part of me wants to actually lean into Kyron more because of the fact that, hey, it's the 49ers, and I think they're going to struggle. I don't think Puka is going to be able to do as well this week, and they're going to be trying to diversify who they're giving it to. So maybe Kyron can get a lot of, dump balls, that kind of stuff. I don't know. I don't really like Cam there, but I'd probably go Brian Robinson just purely out of safety, and because I think that Antonio Gibson's more on the hot seat than Cam Akers. I mean, Cam Akers has been uninspiring, but he hasn't, pissed off the team per se like Antonio Gibson. We also have one from Brittany. Brittany is saying, looking at Roshan Johnson, Kendrick Bourne, Drake London, Rashid White, Khalil Herbert, Nico. Well, that's a lot of options. Okay. Oh my God. Well, I think we can probably cross off a couple of these, right? Yeah, we have Herbert and Roshan, but also I know all 4 of us like Roshan, so I think we could clearly agree that if you're going to play either of those, it would be Roshan there. But that's tough. Jason, what are your thoughts here?
Exactly what you said. Roshan over Herbert. London, we all know how we feel about him. White, don't like him. Moss, it's his first week back after breaking his arm. He could be good. He might not. It's too risky of a play for me. Collins, he did look good. He did get a lot of targets, but also Bourne did. So I like Roshan as 1, and between Bourne and Collins, it's really up in the air. I think I'd go with Bourne just because he looked like Mac Jones' favorite target on that team. So I'm going to go Roshan and Bourne.
Doc, how about you?
You know, it's going to sound like I'm just copying off you, but I think I like exactly what you said. One thing that's interesting about the Bears' backfield is they made Donta Foreman a healthy scratch. So it's like if you liked Roshan last week when he was part of a three-headed monster, now it's a two-headed monster in the backfield. So I definitely like that play. Like give the guy his due. You know, he's been productive so far. Give him a chance to shine. And the New England offense, this is not Matt Patricia's New England offense. So, there is a chance that they're going to throw the ball more. They're going to be a little bit more dynamic. And Kendrick Bourne certainly seems to be the apple of Mac Jones's eye. I do like, exactly what you said. I do like Nico Collins. I'm not really worried about CJ Stroud's shoulder thing. Like he's been cleared to play. Maybe it was just a little soreness and he's fine. But, given the fact that he looked so good, Kendrick Bourne did last week, give him a chance to show that it's not just a one week wonder, and go with those two guys. And I think that those would be my plays.
And Jamie, how about you?
Yeah, Brittany knows me quite well, so she's not going to be surprised when I say Roshan. Definitely start him, especially with the healthy scratch. Bourne, man, I think I'm going to go Bourne because they're playing from behind last week. Mac was targeting him. They're going to be playing from behind this week too, so I don't see a big difference. So I would go Bourne.
We're going chalk here. I don't got anything else for you. I have nothing else to add. Part of me wants to say Drake London. Just based. I hate benching a guy after 1 week that you probably put some draft equity into, but
well, she's got other good options. If she had no other good options, I think it's very reasonable
enough
to start
options
Drake
there.
London.
Like if it was Nico Collins versus Drake London, I'd still be in favor of Drake, but
Yeah.
Kendrick looked good. And I think in this Miami game they're going to need to be throwing the ball, and that's where I'd like to lean on that. Brittany also had another one for us, which was Javante, Najee, or Gibbs. And Jamie, you can go ahead and go first on this one.
Oh, man. I think Gibbs, they're going to probably start working him in some more. Najee, I just don't trust him, especially against the Browns. I wouldn't play that. It's between Gibbs and Javante for me. I'd lean Gibbs. Yeah, especially in full PPR. Yeah, I would go Gibbs.
Jason, what do you got for us?
I'm going the same. Gibbs, I think it's high risk, high reward for him. If they integrate him into the offense a little more than they did last week, which I think they're going to, he could be a real superstar, and that's the highest upside for me.
Doc?
I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to go Javante here. Not that I dislike Gibbs at all, but it's like we're kind of betting with Gibbs on the come, right? We're hoping that he gets more involvement than we saw in week one. Javante Williams is already getting that involvement. And, he got 6 targets last week. He had solid involvement. We know that he can score touchdowns. So I think he's a little bit of a safer play this week. I think Gibbs could explode for sure. He's got the higher ceiling, but he's got the lower floor. And Najee, I don't think you can really go with him until we see something from the relatively moribund Pittsburgh offense. So, between those two, I'm going to go with the guy that's already getting the ball and has kind of a similar skill set with Javante Williams.
I'm going Gibbs. I have to go Gibbs here. For me, Javante scares me because I do like P. Ryan, and I know Sean Payton likes his multiple running backs in his offense. Also, I just was really uninspired with the Broncos team in week 1, so I don't trust that team. I also don't trust Pittsburgh, and that's where I'm just going to lean into Detroit's offense. I like David Montgomery as a play still. However, I'm going to trust that. I think the floor is relatively the same for each of these. Do we agree with that? It's not a very high floor regardless. It's really a boom or bust play regardless of these three. Are we all?
I'm gonna push back on that a little bit, just because of the lack of involvement that we saw from Jahmyr Gibbs. Like if you get the same thing this week that you got last week from Jahmyr Gibbs, are you going to be happy with that? 8 PPR points, like that is on the table, depending on game flow and things like that. So. Not to say it's going to happen, but I do think that the involvement, is potentially a little bit lower, but the ceiling is higher.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm on lean Gibbs there. Oh, we also have Joey Grace, Gus Edwards, or Pacheco.
That's gross.
That one stings. That one, I feel your pain, Joey. I've been there before. Doc, let's just go right to you.
Yeah. So with this one, I'm going to go with the guy that I wrote up in the waiver article and my fellow Rutgers University alum, Gus Edwards. I think that, Justice Hill, getting the 2 touchdowns that kind of suppressed his cost before, but we've seen Gus Edwards be involved even when there are other running backs there. I think he's kind of the guy who's going to be the ground and pound part of the offense. And I don't think Justice Hill's role is really going to change. He was kind of a complimentary back before. Maybe he gets a few more carries, but I think they're really going to lean more on Gus Edwards than they are on, Justice Hill. And then with Pacheco, it kind of depends on whether or not we're going to see anything from Clyde Edwards-Helaire finally. Is he going to play? I know he's questionable going into this week, but we don't know what we're going to get out of Kansas City. As we know, like those guys anybody on that offense could explode or they could disappear. So I think you're going to get more steady production from Gus Edwards, and that would be my lean.
Jason, what do you got?
That's a tough one. Gus Edwards and Justice Hill, I don't know who's going to be the lead in that backfield, so that's kind of too big of a gamble for me right now, so I'm going to go Pacheco. He looked decent. I mean, Patrick Mahomes rushed him, which is never a good sign, so you hope for a better week from him this week. But you did see a little more passing game from with Pacheco last week. Yeah, I believe it was 4 receptions on 4 targets. So if that keeps up, that could be good in a PPR. So I'm going Pacheco.
Yeah, my concern with Pacheco in the PPR this week, to push back a little bit there, Jason, is the fact that Travis Kelce is back. Maybe that helps open up more, but also that's where I'm leaning a little bit in favor of Gus Edwards. Obviously, it's a risky play regardless. You're not feeling super confident either way, but I'm going to lean a little bit in favor of betting on an offense that I hate to depend on in Baltimore's offense. I feel like anytime I ask a fantasy player on Baltimore's offense to do something for me, they just come up short. They're so good at it. Jamie, thoughts here?
Well, I don't like either of them, but I do have Pacheco ranked higher than Justice Hill, but I have Justice Hill ranked higher than Edwards, so I'm going to have to go with my ranks and say start Pacheco.
And we'll get on to the next one. Then we've got Roger. Roger saying, thanks, guys, on the last one. You got one more. I can start 2 running backs, full PPR. Najee Harris, Joshua Kelly, Damian Pierce, Raheem Mostert, Tyler Algier. Ooh.
I can't believe we're at a point where we're asking start Najee over these guys, considering where we drafted them.
I'm thinking some evil things right now. Jason, what are you thinking before I get carried away here?
One, Tyler Algier. He just looked great. That's a no-brainer for me. As far as another one, it's not Najee. I don't know. Josh Kelly is kind of my guilty pleasure this week. I think without Austin Eckler there, the volume is going to be substantial, and with a lot of volume can come a lot of opportunity. So it's going to be Tyler Algier and Josh Kelly for me.
I feel like this is the group of volume running backs. Like obviously Mostert, Algier, they don't necessarily get all the reps, but I feel like all these options are just guys that none of you really believe in their talent per se for high-end production, but you're like, okay, they're getting fed. Jamie, how are you doing here?
So with Joshua Kelly, let's say he does get 15 carries, right? It's going to be 2.5 yards per carry. That's all the Titans are going to allow him. So that's what, 3-4 fantasy points right there. You're banking on a touchdown, and they're so volatile. I don't know. So I'm going to go Algier for sure, and I think I'm going to roll out Damian Pierce, man. And just hope he gets more than 50% of the snaps like he did last week.
Whew. Doc?
Yeah, so I think we're all in agreement on Tyler Algier. Love what we saw from him, and he should still be involved, especially if they're going to run the ball 127 times. Then he's going to get volume whether Bijan's there or not. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Team Frankenstein's Monster, your RB2 over the course of the year, and Joshua Kelly this week is exactly the type of play that you want to make. When you go hero RB, you go zero RB, you get these guys on the team. This is an explosive offense. I don't care. I know Zach's a great athlete. If Zach was starting running back for the Chargers, I would start Zach. Jamie, I would start you. I would start anybody. So Joshua Kelly, I liked his involvement last week when Eckler was in the game. Now Eckler is going to be out, and we can talk about him in a little bit as far as his ankle injury and things like that. But I'm going with Joshua Kelly, regardless of his talent, regardless of anything else. He could, get his 2 yards per carry, and he could still score 3 touchdowns and pay off for you. So, that team is explosive. They could light it up at any point. So I want the running back on that team, and I don't care who it is. So Joshua Kelly, come on down.
I trust the running back production for the Chargers. I like Joshua Kelly, and I do like Algier. Question for you guys real quick on one of my lineups. David Montgomery or Tyler Algier? Because that's pretty much the very similar in both, right? You're
This is half PPR, full PPR?
Full PPR.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's to me, it's like I view them as 1A, 1B of kind of the same thing. They've got the star rookie running back. How much workload are they getting right away?
Well, I think you answered your own question, to be fair. Like, you got posed the question of whether you wanted Gibbs or Javonte, and you went with Gibbs because you like, his upside. So
I love David, though.
If that's true, then, do you think both Montgomery and Gibbs are gonna crush, or do you believe that, they're gonna run the ball a whole bunch in Atlanta still, and Algier's gonna find a way to pay off whether or not Bijan is more involved or not?
Well, I actually have Gibbs and Montgomery both top 20 back-to-back at 17 and 18.
Oh, so you're expecting a big week this week for Detroit.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Okay.
My only concern is if Green Bay has a hot start and Atlanta's in catch-up mode. Because then I look at Bijan as the main guy out there and not Tyler.
Here's a question for you. Is Cordero Patterson coming back? Does that affect your decision making at all? Like, do you think he's going to be this whole thing about he could be like the wide receiver 2 on that team? Which, what's that worth, right? No offense to Mac Hollins, but does that move the needle for you at all? Like, as far as him getting any carries, taking away from either one of them, or you're like, this is a non-factor?
Wait, are you on mute?
You might be on mute.
Whoops. No, I don't know what the hell I'm going to do either way. I really like both. It's very neutral on this one. This one's probably going to be the last second. Oh, which way am I going to go? And hopefully my luck continues from last week and I picked the right way. But tune in next week and find out. We do have another one in the chat. We have Pitts, Judy, or Amari Cooper.
Not Amari Cooper.
Just right now it says Amari Cooper is considered unlikely to play.
Not Amari Cooper.
So Pitts or Judy?
I'll go Judy. I'll run out Judy. First game back.
Yeah. Even on a snap count, Judy's going to be more valuable than Pitts. If you saw some of the film from Pitts last week, he was wide open. They weren't even giving him the ball. It's just not a good situation in Atlanta for him. So Judy.
And Pitts, it's like the 27th second chance that we've given this. Like, we've been waiting for him to pay off for 3 years. It's like, am I going to go down that rabbit hole one more time? It's really close. I think I will. I think I'm going to go Pitts. I'm going to give him one more second chance. And the only reason is because Judy coming back from the hamstring. It does concern me that they talked about how it was a moderate grade. Granted, I'm a doctor. I do injury analysis, so I have a little bit of a different spin. They may keep him on a snap count. They may kind of limit his route tree so as not to re-injure things. I know he had full practices, but 4 weeks is not a long time for a hamstring strain. He could easily re-aggravate it and be donezo. So I got to see it from Judy. As talented as he is, there's questions on Denver's offense. I'm going to give Pitts one more chance. I'm going to give Atlanta one more chance. I'm ready to be hurt again for the 27th time. So give me Kyle Pitts, and if he blows up, I'm going to be really happy. And if he goes Drake London on me, then I'm nailing him to the bench, and he's not coming off until I see something from him.
I'm happy to say I broke up with Kyle Pitts this season.
Yeah, you were smart. Like,
it was hard, but
I have attachment issues. So
if you have Kyle Pitts, you need to play him still. I hate to say that, but you have invested enough in him where at least in week 2 of this season, he needs to still be in that lineup. And if he continues to disappoint by week 4, I would consider it. And then I'm going to probably just try and get rid of him for what I can. I think when you pay that much for a player on your team, you need to kind of just stick with your guns for a little while. I mean, I hate to say it, but you don't want to give up too soon when you're, when you really sell the house, you really invest on this guy. You're all in, and then you're backing out right away. Kyle Pitts was an early round guy, and that's where I just think it makes most sense to have him in your lineup still. Yeah, at least after 1 week. Hey, no growling. Sorry, Cooper. Yeah, see, even Cooper is all worked up about Kyle Pitts. He can't believe it.
Even
He's
the
like,
dog doesn't like the
why
Kyle
would you
Pitts
even
call.
have that guy on your team? He can't believe it either. Yeah, it's okay. I know. Don't be scared of Kyle Pitts. Yeah, it scares me.
I mean,
too.
for whatever it's worth, the passing offense last week was terrible, but just to put the cherry on the pie, he did have a 26-yard catch called back for some BS illegal motion call or something. That would have given him 10 PPR points last week, which is not great, but it's not going to murder you either. So, he has shown something considering that they haven't done anything. He still managed to get, what would have been 3 catches for 70 yards last week on that awful passing offense. So if they can uptick it just a little bit, maybe he gets something. And maybe, God forbid, he can score a touchdown at some point, in his career. That would be nice too.
We do have another start set. This was sent in from our boy at GoingFor2, Mike Hicks. He wanted to know if pick one for a flex: Ezekiel Elliott versus Miami, Cam Akers versus San Francisco, or Rashid Shaheed at Carolina.
Yeah, I'm going Shaheed on that one all day. I'm not trusting Cam Akers. I mean, if the Rams don't trust him, why should I?
Same.
Yeah, Shaheed.
Yep. Yeah. Don't have much more to say.
Thanks for the easy question, Mike. Appreciate it.
I appreciate that one. Yeah, that one was real easy. We have another one in the chat also from Brittany. Pacheco or never mind. We're not even going.
Jamie?
Thank you, but we
Brittany, come on.
Right as I was reading it, we're not.
Forget about
I
it.
appreciate the additional question, Brittany, but you have 4 Roshan guys in the show, and I'll leave it at that. So another one we have. This is actually a league that Doc and I co-run. I'm helping out for a little bit, and we've got it's a 12-team dynasty superflex PPR. We're picking one for a flex: Darnell Mooney at Tampa Bay, Jerick McKinnon at Jacksonville, Juju Smith versus Miami, Tyler Boyd versus Baltimore, or Sam Laporta versus Seattle.
Shoot. What were the first 2 again?
Darnell Mooney. Here, I'll type it out in the chat, and I'll pin it out that way if I can.
So
Darnell Mooney,
McKinnon, Juju,
Juju,
or
and
Laporta.
then it's Tyler Boyd.
Or Boyd Laporta.
Yeah, Boyd Laporta. Thoughts there?
Is it tight end premium?
It is 1.5 tight end premium.
Yeah, I think even if it wasn't tight end premium, I'm pretty sure I would go Laporta, man. I like what he got last week. He looked good. It's between him and Mooney for me.
How about you, Jason? What are you thinking?
I'm going Laporta. He stands out to me the most. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Detroit is going to absolutely score today against Seattle, and I think Laporta could easily get a touchdown. So,
Doc and I have already had this conversation. Laporta was my option there.
That's got to be very validating for you, Zach, because it wasn't somebody that I would have necessarily considered.
We weren't even discussing him off the bat, and then I was like, hey, Mr. Detroit at the end of the bench, because it filters it so the tight ends are. He was the bottom of our bench, but no, I mean I like Darnell Mooney there as well. Especially with the question marks around Claypool, and if there's a bounce back week from the Bears, I would like that play as well. But I'm definitely more in favor of Laporta. I was really impressed with week 1, especially for a rookie. My expectations are always tempered when it comes to a guy in year 1 actually producing right off the bat. And usually towards the end of the year. But I was okay. See, he doesn't even like the idea.
he's like first Kyle Pitts, now Sam Laporta. Like let me out.
But now my cat came in. She was like, Sam Laporta, you have my attention.
Let me out.
Yep. Another one we have is I have to pick one for a flex spot. Jahan Dotson, Michael Thomas, Tyler Boyd.
So I like Dotson, but I think I like Thomas a little bit more on that one.
Jason?
I like Dotson. I think he's going to have a breakout season. He's very talented, and I think he's going to overtake the number one wide receiver role this season over Terry McLaurin. Could it happen this week? Only time will tell, but yeah, definitely Dotson.
Dotson was my play there. But Doc, thoughts there?
Yeah, I would go Dotson, and just to echo some of the things that Jason said, I kind of liked him to potentially be like a 1A, 1B with Terry McLaurin before he got the turf toe injury, and those things can linger and they can be really debilitating for weeks and weeks and weeks. So even though Terry McLaurin is back on the field, I don't think he's back to being, who he is. So if you believe in Washington's offense, you believe in Eric Bieniemy, and Dotson could be the number one, I think he's got the highest ceiling. So I would go with him. And parenthetically, if you guys out there are watching, we got a lot of comments, we got a lot of questions. If we're helping you out at all today, do us a favor, drop a like on the stream. We appreciate all the comments. It really does help us out. We're here for you guys. It's a Sunday morning. My coffee's just starting to kick in. But drop a like for us, and we really appreciate it. And thanks again for watching.
Yep. Thank you very much, and thank you for the plug, Doc. Doc, do you also want to plug the injury channel on the Discord real quick after you're done taking your sip of water?
Yeah, we could definitely do that. That's perfect timing. So as I mentioned before, I am a doctor. I'm a radiologist by trade, so I read CAT scans, X-rays, MRIs, ultrasounds, all the things that all of our favorite players get when they get injured. And when they send them off to get interpreted, they send them to a guy like me, probably a better looking than I am, but somebody that has the same skill set. So this is what I do, and I try to give all that information, read between the lines, take what the media gives us, try to run it through the filter, and come out with something that's going to help you, the fantasy player, make some decisions. And I do that on the Going42 Discord. It's completely free. If you jump in there, I love how Zach's cat's doing acrobatics behind me. That's a great backdrop. On the Going42 Discord, I have my own injury channel, so you can reach out to me with any questions. It's completely free. Get in the Discord. And just as an example of what I kind of bring to the table, a lot of analysts out there, and no disrespect to them, but they were recommending Kenny Gainwell as a potential number one running back waiver pickup that you could potentially slide into your lineup this week. Minor issue with that was he had a rib injury. So 3 days before it came out, you go to Doc's injury channel and you can see the timestamp date. Be careful if you're picking up Kenny Gainwell and thinking about using him this week because he might be out. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So that's what I try to bring to you guys, try to get you to get the drop on your league mates who aren't tuned in. So give it a look and join the Going42 Discord, not just for me, especially not just for me. There's a lot of great analysts, discourse, conversation, information out there.
We have a lot of channels on there. It's great.
Totally free. So get in there and check it out.
If you want trade advice, start, sit, you name it, you name the type of league or format, there's areas you can ask any type of question you come across. With that in mind, I do have another start sit. This one hurts my soul. All right, so I guess we'll go with this. First off, running back 2. We'll go with the 4 running backs. It's David Montgomery, Brian Robinson, James Cook, Roschon.
I'm going James Cook all day, man. I got him in my top 10.
Over Roschon?
Yeah. I hate to say it, man. I like James Cook this week. I think it's going to be a great week for him. I believe the defense last week gave up, 8 catches to the running backs combined? And then they also averaged more than, 4 to 5 yards per carry. And I don't see James Cook splitting, so he's going to get all that work.
Jason?
That's a good point about James Cook. There's nobody else there in the backfield. So with Roschon, you still got Khalil Herbert, so you could go 50-50. You never know. But I do love Roschon still. He's my guilty pleasure this week, so I'm going Roschon. I just think he's going to get a lot of targets, and I love targets in a PPR.
Doc, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with anybody on the Bills. I'm starting him this week against my beloved Las Vegas Raiders. I don't care who it is. If you have them, start them. I think they had a really tough test last week against the Jets. I think they're going to come out and they're going to be looking to make a statement. And there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to eat this week, and it's not going to be so good for the Las Vegas Raiders. So I'm going James Cook there for sure.
All right, and speaking of Roshan, my
Oh,
friend
wait,
Allie actually
wait.
sent me.
We're not done on that one though.
Oh,
No, there's more. There's
because
more.
yeah, we're not done there yet. We've got another part to that because the rest of those guys are now up for my flex two or my I have two flexes. So then it comes down to Monty, Brian Robinson, Roshan, Puka, which part of me feels like it's irresponsible not to start Puka due to the fact that there's going to be volume even if it's against San Francisco, just purely based off who else is there. But yeah, let's hear it. Who wants to go first? I'll let you guys just kind of decide.
I'll go first. So you talked about Monty before. I guess my question to you is, and this is going to help with the decision making: are we looking for high ceiling, or are we looking for steady production based on your matchup?
I would say I usually always try and go steady production. I don't really ever play the ceiling game too much. I usually
That's
just
cool.
go for,
If it was
I would say
different
just
matchup this week with
get me
Puka,
double digits. That's my policy for every position.
and
Hey,
I
just
would
give
go
me 10
Monty.
plus.
I would go Monty then because I think he's going to get that for you. He could do better. Puka, he's a boom bust play, especially against that defense. He could do what he did last week, or he could get 2 catches for 27 yards. So I would go Monty.
All right, cool. Jason, any thoughts there?
Was Puka still injured? Was there any updates on that?
Yeah, he's trending towards playing. The last time I checked, he had an oblique strain, which they can be painful, but it looks like he's going to play. It doesn't concern me as much as the matchup does, to be honest with you. Even though that's a division game and they play each other tough, but that's kind of there's two ways where it can not pay off. The injury could reassert itself at some point during the game and he's out, or he just gets taken out of the game by the Niners defense.
I mean, the Niners defense, like I said earlier, they're elite, but Puka had 15 targets, and that's hard to ignore too. I think if you want to go safe, I'd pick, Roshan or Monty, but if you want to be a little risky, I'd go with Puka.
Yeah, I was leaning towards. I want to go Roshan for the second one. Monty was going to be one of them, but it really comes down to Brian Robinson versus Roshan, and that's where I don't like Antonio Gibson. I don't, so that's where I'm definitely looking at potential volume there. But
yeah, Roshan's going to get you more.
Denver's defense is good, and that's my concern with Brian Robinson. Is what if it's just a dud of a performance for Washington's offense as a whole against Denver? It might not be a sexy game. I could easily see that be like a 17-10 kind of game, something just boring and defensive orientated. I don't know. I think I'll probably have to go Monty and Roshan there for my thoughts. Jamie, what you got for the other starts it?
Yeah, for yours, I'm going Roshan just for the fun play over
oh wait, here actually we got Dylan and Herbert real quick. I'm leaning AJ Dillon.
Yeah, I'll go Dylan with Jones out for sure.
Jason, what do you
got? I like Dylan just because you have Roshan lingering over Herbert. Dylan will have the whole backfield to himself, so Dylan.
Yeah, this is one of those Frankenstein's monster situations again. When when you have injuries at the running back position, if you have Dylan, like this is why you got him. If Jones is out, you got to put him in.
Completely agree. Dylan's a must start if you have him right now. I mean, just especially with if you think there's going to be any regression in Jordan Love in the passing offense this week against Atlanta, that's where I would look at Dylan being the main guy actually producing for that offense. Jamie, you said you had a start sit that you wanted to go.
Oh yeah, I'm actually trying to get Roshan in my lineups right now. So this is a fun lineup. It's one of my dynasty rebuilds. I got Jahmyr Gibbs, I'm starting. Bijan, I'm starting. ETN, I'm starting. And then it's between Roshan and Laporta in my flex because I already have Dallas Goedert already played.
Is it tight end premium?
This is not. So I just put Roshan in. Yeah.
I don't think that's yeah. I don't have much to add to that one. Jason, any thoughts there? Is that fairly straightforward?
Yeah, straightforward.
Go ahead.
I was going to bring up, if you guys want to win some money real quick, this was just sent to me. If you're on DraftKings, Roshan's anytime touchdown and 25 plus yards will get you plus 650 just for those two.
Wow. Well,
Okay.
I mean, I'm in New
All right.
Jersey, so I can't play those, but I'd say that sounds pretty
Oh,
enticing.
that sounds nice. Now I do have. Oh wait, we have another one from Brittany as well. No worries, Brittany. We always appreciate having more
Love
starters.
it.
We've got Charbonnet or
Ugh.
You have any other options?
Yeah. Is there anyone on waivers you can pick?
Yeah,
Would
who
I
can you
rather
pick
have
up?
an endoscopy or a colonoscopy? I don't know which one. Neither, please. Thank you.
Hey, the prep's easier for an endoscopy than it is for a colonoscopy. I can say that.
Oof.
You'll get there. You guys will get there someday. Don't worry about it.
I have 0 shares of either. I have I have no opinion. I mean, who else do you have on your bench? Because honestly, I wouldn't be playing either.
Well, you can't. I mean, here's the thing: you can't really go with Charbonnet yet, can you? Unless you're kind of banking on a Kenneth Walker mid-game injury.
'Cause-
We haven't seen anything from him yet, and really no indication that he's going to be more involved. It's not like Gibbs, where they're like talking about how they're ramping him up. He's there, like he's their insurance policy, and it's kind of Ken Walker until proven otherwise. So, given those two choices, I would go with Akers.
I would have to agree with that. I mean, it's against the 49ers, but I'm going to have to lean in favor of Cam, just purely potential more. Yeah, I don't see how Charbonnet gets any points unless a Walker injury happens. And while I definitely like Kyron more than Cam, I think Cam's been uninspiring. I still think there's a potential chance for more volume there, and I just got to go off the volume aspect. Jason, you look like you got some thoughts there.
It's hard to pick. They're both. Neither of them are gonna produce like anything of relevance.
I think
in my
these
opinion,
floors are both very low. I think all
but
four of us
They're a
agree
low
on
floor.
that.
They are in the sub base. The floors are in the sub base.
I'd have to go Akers just because you've seen what he can be. Charbonnet, he's the clear backup. He's not going to have an opportunity to do anything great. While Akers, he might get an opportunity. So Akers.
And Brittany, we appreciate your questions. I'm sorry that you're down so bad where you got to go between these two right now because that's a rough week 2 position to be in.
Akers could surprise still, Brittany.
I hope
he could
so.
still surprise. Those Niners Rams games, they don't always play out the way that we think. Like they play each other tough. They know each other really well.
It's very
and
true.
Akers could still surprise us.
Now, I have a question for you guys.
Yes.
If Zach Moss was available, would you play him over those two?
Yes.
I would, yeah.
Because I think Zach Moss, there's a high chance he might be on waiver wires. So
yes,
that'd be worth looking into.
I would look at Zach Moss before either of those. That's one I'm big on for sure. I do have one as well. We've got we're all out on Antonio Gibson, right? Like,
no, speak for yourselves, man.
No,
I'm not out
no.
on Antonio Gibson.
No?
Antonio
You
Gibson's
like
still
him?
my guy.
okay, all right, then I better include him in my options then for a pick 3. Then I wanted to make sure that I did this right, but here, let me put this in the chat so I can get it up on the screen. So I'll give you the rundown as I'm going through this. We've got Mike Evans, Jerry Jeudy, Calvin Ridley, Antonio Gibson, and Romeo Doubs. A good spot to be in. You can pick 3 of them.
Okay.
So let me put
Definitely
this on.
Ridley.
Yeah.
You got to play Ridley.
Agreed.
Yeah. But we got multiple there. So that's where it's pick 3, and it's PPR, but it's yeah. I don't love Judy here. I don't love Evans. Don't love Gibson. To me, it's Ridley and Dubs. I got locked in.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
like that.
Gibson, Judy, Mike Evans. I don't love that Tampa Bay offense. I do not. They beat Minnesota week 1, which I'm still shocked about. Maybe that just says more about Minnesota, but I really have a hard time trusting. I know we've seen
They're playing Chicago this week. Chicago's like junior varsity defense, man.
That
No
is
offense
true.
to the Packers,
That
but
is
I mean,
true.
geez,
It was
Louise.
rough. No, I can't.
Mike
argue.
Evans, 6'5", going up against the junior varsity team. I don't know. I got to go Mike Evans here. 10 targets last week with a touchdown. Thank you very much. Come on down. No, thank you to Jerry Jeudy and his bum hamstring. And Antonio, I love you, but I didn't know I was going to have to choose between you and Mike Evans. So I'm going Mike Evans.
Yeah, I think too, when I look at someone like Mike, it's someone that we've seen consistently produce with bad quarterbacks throughout his career. Even before Tom Brady, that was his whole stick. We hadn't actually seen him with anyone good for a while. So that's why I'm like, hey, we know he can produce. We know he can be consistent.
Put some respect on Jameis Winston and his 30 and 30 season.
Mr. Crablegs?
Put some respect on his name with his 30 interception season.
You're right.
He was plenty good that year.
I do appreciate a high interception guy.
-5 for an interception scoring.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. No, what was the other one that I had? Pick 2 for a flex. This one's going to be more. Saquon's locked in. I'm not. It's against her. He's locked in. We don't need to talk. James Conner, AJ Dillon, or Zach Moss? James Conner, AJ Dillon, Zach Moss.
You're really not gonna start AJ Dillon as a Packers? Is there Packers fandom like trying to talk you out of that or what?
I like Conner though as well. That's where I was leaning in favor of
Joshua Dobbs at quarterback. You like James Conner? Come on, man.
Yeah, I think Conner is basically the entire Cardinals offense right now until Kyler Murray gets back.
So what's that worth to you, Jason? What is that worth to you?
Doc, did you lose a bet? Brian wants to know.
I'm trying to show respect and homage not only to Jamie but to Ernie Davis and Elmira, New York, where I used to live and work. Some great people up there, and this is Ernie Davis, the Elmira Express, which is a great movie if you haven't seen it, by the way. Dennis Quaid, lots of other good people. Really, really great story, really touching story. But I wore this mostly for Jamie and to a lesser degree for the great, great people of Elmira, New York. Ernie Davis, the Elmira Express. Thank you very much. Oh, wait, so who were we slandering before we got so rudely interrupted? Oh, Joshua Dobbs. That's right. Really, Jason? Like, you're going to hang your hat on that? You're going to hang your hat on Joshua Dobbs is going to lead you to fantasy glory in week 2? I respect it.
James Conner
attached to Joshua Dobbs as the entire offense. So it's bold. I like it. I don't know if I would do it, but I like it.
Hey, if you saw a diamond in a pile of crap, you'd still go for it, right?
You wouldn't call this this roster.
It'd be a Zircon. I'm just saying.
You know what's nice is I was talking about flex spots for that. The running back core on this team goes Christian McCaffrey, Bijan Robinson, Saquon Barkley, JT on the IR right now because he's on the pup. Then I've got AJ Dillon, James Conner, Zach Moss. Just as RB 5, 6, and 7.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, we're in a good spot. I like when AJ. I'm trying to hold the rest of my league by the balls right now. They didn't want to 0 RB, so I was hogging them. With that in mind, we did talk about on the show sheet and pre-show a little bit about just bold takes, kind of bold predictions for this week. With that in mind, Jamie, there was a wide receiver up Northwest that you believe is going to have a big week. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, JSN, man. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Detroit isn't very good at covering slot receivers. I believe last week he got a 20% target share, so I think he's going to have a breakout game. I'm putting JSN in my lineups this week.
I like. Any thoughts on JSN, Jason?
I like
Changed
it.
my mind between base and midway. I was like,
I've been I have a couple leagues where I have him, and I've been, should I start him? Should I start somebody else? So it's good to hear somebody else believes in him. So I might have to throw him in there as a wild card.
And Doc.
What? Yeah. What's the question?
JSN.
I like Gino's chances to bounce back here. I guess the question is, he went from kind of being relegated to obscurity to being a top 12 quarterback to he has one bad week and everybody's ready to shovel dirt on him. I think he can bounce back this week as well, and I think JSN can be a big part of that. I still have to say that the disrespect for DK Metcalf is reaching near critical mass. Like, I don't understand why people just don't want to like this guy and put him in the wide receiver 1 category. I mean, he's a monster. He scored a touchdown last week when the rest of that offense looked awful. I get it. I get JSN is super exciting and he's a great prospect, but if he can have the career that DK Metcalf has had to this point, that is like a home run into the third deck, and DK Metcalf's already doing it. So that's the question that I have with that. But I do like JSN to kind of step up and do more this week, and for that whole offense to kind of look better than it did last week.
And Jason, you had a bold prediction as well. You want to share that one?
Oh, Roshan Johnson.
Who? We haven't
Stole
talked.
Jamie's
yeah.
pick.
Little running back, Chicago. You might have heard of him. No, I think he's gonna have a better week than he did last week. If you were playing PPR, he got you 17 points, which you'll love to see. I could see him going for 20 plus. A lot more volume this week. As long as he keeps getting used in the receiving game. I mean, you love to see 7 targets, 6 receptions, and then plus he had a rushing touchdown. So if he can keep any of that up, yeah, I think he's gonna be an absolute stud this week.
So would you start Roshan over Miles Sanders this week? Looking at a team right now, and I got that decision.
Yes.
I think I would, yeah.
Yeah.
I really haven't been on the Miles Sanders train this year, so
Damn, locked it in.
Got to go with your guy, Jamie. Come
Yeah,
on.
I know, man.
I don't know how much more we need to talk about Roshan because, yeah, we love him.
This is the Roshan Johnson love fest right here, and I'm here
all
for
summer long, man. I was the conductor of the Roshan train.
And then Doc, you're looking up northeast.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a bull take this is, but basically it's just anybody that you have on the Bills this week, start them. Just start everybody because anybody and everybody on that offense could blow up. I think they had a really tough draw against the Jets. It was kind of a tough loss, especially given the fact that Aaron Rodgers went down within the first 18 seconds of the game. I think they're going to look to make a statement that they really are going to be players, and this game could get ugly. And there could be a lot of volume, a lot of touchdowns, and a lot of rebounds going around. So anybody that you have on the Bills that you're kind of on the fence about, I say throw them in there, and you can get a nice ceiling play out of it.
I have a quick question about that. If you had to pick one of the 2 tight ends, Knox or Kincaid, which one would you go with?
Oh wow! I would start either one of them, and I have Knox in one league. The only reason he's not starting is because Mark Andrews is back. But if he got started last week, and I would start him again. I think they both did decent last week. I think we could see more of the same. I don't know who's gonna be the guy that has the ceiling for this offense. Obviously, Stephon Diggs is a big guy, but it could be Kincaid going for 7 for 85 and a touchdown. It could be Knox doing that. Gabe Davis could finally reassert himself as being an actual player in this league. So this could be the week that it actually happens, and I'm kind of anticipating that it will.
Kincaid for me. Kincaid over Knox.
Yeah, and that's fair. Higher ceiling.
I'm just a big Kincaid guy. I'm definitely the way Jamie is with Roshan. That's how I feel about Kincaid. So any chance I can get to put him in my starting lineup, I'm definitely.
I think they're going to have a really tough time dealing with both of them, but I think Kincaid has the higher ceiling, so I can't argue with that at all.
And with my take, I am going to talk about another team in the state of New York, not the Jets, because there's that would be way too scorching hot of a take if I had anything good to say other than them probably losing with Zach Wilson at quarterback this week. So it's about the New York Giants. They still waiting for them to score this season, so that's fun. We're in week 2, by the way, so that's definitely not a good sign. It's not the way you wanted to start the year. They looked. The Bears looked bad against Green Bay. The Giants made the Bears look like a Super Bowl team. How that week 1 performance went, that was rough. That was a really rough game all the way around. Daniel Jones, Darren Waller, no one did shit. It didn't matter who you had in your starting lineups, but these are all guys that I've been very high on, and I think, good teams bounce back when they get their ass whooped like they did. And that's where I'm going to trust that Brian Daboll and this offense are going to come out and kick some ass this week. And I want to make sure I have Waller. I want to make sure I have Saquon. Don't trust the wide receivers. That's just me.
If you had to pick one, though, who would you go with? I know it's tough, but I'm just curious. It's like, do I want to get a root canal or do I want to get?
I was gonna say I'm just gonna go back to my other analogy earlier. Like I don't have any of the Giants wide receivers in any leagues. Like not even like Sterling Shepard maybe just for
Okay.
weird upside, but
Okay.
I don't trust it. I would not want him in my lineup. That's right. There's probably
I
guys
mean,
on
that's fair.
there's probably guys on the
Had
waivers
to.
that I'd
You
consider
had
for
to.
a
You
spot start.
absolutely had to. Sterling
Personally,
Shepard.
I
Okay.
like Isaiah Hodgins.
Okay.
I've been a believer in him since last season. Picked him up in a dynasty. I think he could be special eventually.
But Daniel Jones, though, I want to emphasize, if you have Waller and Daniel Jones, those two really sucked week one, especially they hurt a lot of teams. Make sure they're in because I think both are going to really. I mean, I think Waller could be tight end too at the end of the year. I'm really high on him for what he can be. Daniel Jones, he was QB9 last year. He can run. I'm expecting even a better year two or a year two to his initial year of actual decent production. I mean, I think Waller is that guy that'll supplement him to maintain that QB9 to like 13 range, and that's where I want both in my lineup as much as I can. I love me some Daniel Jones. Danny Dimes is where it's at this week. Jason,
Yeah, I actually have him as my top 5 quarterback.
And that wasn't your hot take?
I mean, I thought it was an obvious take against Arizona.
or you say that though. I don't view him as a top 5 QB this week because it's against Arizona.
Oh,
I think they're up by enough. I haven't seen anything from Arizona that tells, and that's where I think the Giants are going to come out pissed off, wanting to kick some ass, and then they're going to be up like 21-0 real quick. I'm expecting a game kind of like that, and then I'm expecting a lot more Saquon work. So I guess that's my concern with the true top 5. But hey, there was enough underperforming teams last week where QB5 wasn't really that impressive in fantasy. So I mean, Daniel Jones could easily do that without putting up a 40-plus point stat line. So I could agree with that, Jamie. With that in mind, we are at the end of today's show. Jamie, if you want to tell people where they can find you on Twitter, plug anything you got.
Yeah, on X Machine, Jamie Perogue. I'm also over there on Facebook at the Fantasy Football Discussion, right here on Going42 Sunday mornings and Tuesday night cheat sheet.
And just to correct you on something real quick, Jamie, we're going to keep calling it Twitter, just like how.
Okay, cool. I hate saying X, man.
Like we call
like
it the
the
Sears
URLs.
Tower out here. They call it Willis Tower now. No, it's still Sears Tower to everyone. That's how we're going to treat Twitter as well. Jason, where can we find you?
Got a podcast on Spotify at Only in Your Fantasies Football. You can also find me on Twitter, Facebook, or TikTok at Only in Your FF.
No, thank you for coming on today, Jamie. Thank you for introducing us to Jason. Jason, we're glad to have you. Hopefully you'll be on again.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Doc, thank you for joining us for the first time. The man that's been in the chat several times. It's nice to have you here with me.
Yeah, this was really great, guys. Thanks for having me on as a guest. I watch many weeks, and this is really a lot of fun. Jason, it was nice meeting you. The other two guys I know pretty well. If you're trying to find me on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, at TFSDoc, I'm on there marginally. I'm trying to bring more positivity into my life, so I don't go on Twitter that much. If you really want to find me on the Discord, Going42 Discord. Again, it's free. Got the injury channel there, Doc's injury channel. You can drop all your injury questions there. And again, I do things a little bit differently. I'm not like other injury analysts who watch film and try to diagnose through that. I kind of try to take the information when they get the imaging that really makes the diagnosis and try to help you piece the pieces of the puzzle together, try to get the bigger picture, and try to help you be more proactive so you can beat your league mates to the punch and make better decisions going into the week and win your matchups, hopefully bring some championships home. So there's that. There is my book, Injuries Suck, but Your Fantasy Team Doesn't Have to, available on e-version, paperback on Amazon, also available on Audible in the audio version, especially if you like the sexy baritone voice that you're listening to right now, narrated by me, yours truly, the author, Dr. James Ferretti. And once again, thank you guys so much. This was really a pleasure. I hope everybody goes out there and kicks some ass this week. And again, if you're down 0-1, whatever it is, 0-2, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I remember reading some analysis somewhere where they said that the least correlated games to your ultimate fantasy success are the early weeks of the season. That's where we're all kind of just figuring this stuff out. So use that to your advantage. Make those moves to kind of build your team strength as you go. Continue to Frankenstein's monster that team and turn it into Voltron and slay all your enemies coming down the stretch into the playoffs and hopefully going for those championships.
As one of my clients at work always says, if you didn't win the first game, it doesn't count. And
I
so
like that.
some people,
Amen.
some leagues, first week of the season didn't count. I'm hoping that, unlike what Doc was saying, the positive signs are going to, just be the signs of things to come. It was a good first week, but that means I'm going to probably crash back down to earth this week because, in fantasy football, if you're living a little too close to the sun, it usually bites you right in the ass soon enough. You can find me on Twitter at Behind the Zach. You can find me here every Sunday morning with Jamie and hopefully with Doc again or Jason again and other people from Going for 2 and around the fantasy football community. You'll see us here every week with the start sits. And also, before you go, please make sure to go on Underdog and use the code GF2. Underdog is currently giving one free mystery pick'em special to new users on top of a deposit match of up to $100, giving this offer to new customers only. So claim your mystery pick special plus a deposit match of up to $100. All you need to do is sign up with Underdog, make a deposit, and head to the lobby to find out which player special you receive. With that in mind, thank you for joining us. Good luck on your fantasy teams this week. Enjoy watching football today, and take care.